Doctor is a good friend of mine. He's also a partner. He's going to talk about a topic that's very important in today's market economy. I know. So without further ado, please welcome my good friend and my partner, Mr. Phill.
Alrighty, well, we're going to talk about what I call cutting-edge post-bubble real estate investing. The market has changed dramatically. I'm a real estate investor. I'll tell you a little bit about myself in a few minutes. And what I like to tell people is change is good, because if you are a student of the market, if you adjust yourself as the market adjusts, changes create opportunities. And the biggest opportunities exist for those who solve the biggest problems during the biggest times of need. So why am I here? Well, over the next 60 minutes, I'm going to discuss the problems and the opportunities that exist in the post-real estate market. And I'm going to share with you my journey through this bubble that we went through in the real estate market and talk about how I adjusted myself after the bubble burst. And I'm going to teach you a strategy that I've developed that I call how to sell unsellable houses to unloanable buyers. And I never get tired of saying that because that sounds absolutely outrageous, but is absolutely what we're talking about. We're talking about how to sell unsellable houses to unloanable buyers, specifically in today's post-bubble real estate market. And we're going to do this by solving the biggest problem that the real estate market has faced in over 80 years. So a little bit about me, just real briefly. I'm an engineer. I'm one of those left-brainer guys. I had a 16-year high-tech career. I burned out of high-tech and needed to do something else with my life. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I bought Entrepreneur magazine. Anybody ever buy that? Like 100 businesses you can start? Yeah, I was one of those guys, and I thought about all different things. I finally discovered real estate in 2003, and I did my first real estate transaction on December 15th, 2003. That's when I bought at my first house. I bought it that day, and since then I've done 1,200 transactions. And life's been good, except in 2008, the market shifted, and it shifted in a big way, and I'm going to give you some data and show you some slides and charts to show all that. And what I discovered is all the things that I thought I knew about real estate weren't working anymore. I hit a wall, and then I overcame the objections and the barriers and the things that changed. I'm going to show you how I kind of overcame that wall. A little bit about my family. My lovely wife and partner, Shanoa. Shanoa, you're out there somewhere. Stand up, Shanoa. There we go. And my little boy, I always like to put a picture of him in here just to prove of the 6 billion people born of this planet, the single best-looking human being ever born was actually born in Austin, Texas, exactly 2 years ago yesterday. Harvard class of 2027. If he doesn't get in, maybe High Point, you know, so. Okay, real estate credentials. Well, yeah. Okay, investing since 2003, completed over 1,100 short sales. Most of my expertise has been in the area of pre-foreclosure and short sales. I've done over 1,100 of those, over 100 renovation projects. I've managed in the neighborhood of $200 million in real estate transactions, but my favorite metric is that I personally own about $10 million worth of mostly rental properties that I only owe about $4 million on. That's building wealth, which I'm a big believer in. Partnered on a lot of deals, helped establish the Texas Real Estate Investor Association, a state body to promote lobbying on behalf of investors and to promote ethical investing standards amongst investors. President of the largest real estate association in Central Texas, and I've taught literally thousands of investors since becoming a speaker just in 2008. So I'm relatively new to the speaker business. All of my businesses, by the way, are Better Business Bureau accredited with an A+ rating. So I know a little bit about real estate. I'm going to talk to you about what I think is a great idea. I'm going to talk about how to make money with no money, fast and risk-free. We're not selling anything. This is mega partnering. We're just going to talk about ideas. I'm going to share this idea that I've developed with you because it might be an idea that you'll want to incorporate into your business. All you have to do is find properties with no equity, the simplest and easiest and most common properties in the universe. All you have to do is find buyers that can't get loans, the most common buyers in the universe, and you can do this from anywhere. And oh yeah, in case you missed it, it's fast to do. But before I get into this great idea, does that sound like a great idea? Yeah. But before I get into this great idea, I thought I'd share with you a terrible idea. We know we've got to create a little contrast here. So I want to see if we agree that this is a terrible idea. I learned about this guy, and his name is Sasha. He lives in Uzbekistan. Do we have anybody from Uzbekistan here? Thank God. Okay, yeah, Uzbekistan, that's it. He lives in Uzbekistan. He wants to be an entrepreneur. He actually went to mega partnering in Uzbekistan, but mega partnering in Uzbekistan was not put on by JT. It was put on by this, guy that really didn't quite have it all right. And he wants to be an entrepreneur, and he reads all the American magazines, but he doesn't read English very well. So he discovers, or he determines, that he thinks all the big money for entrepreneurs is in the hair salon business. So he decides to build a hair salon. And there he is. There's Sasha. But because his English isn't so good, when he orders his signage, instead of haircuts, he kind of got it wrong. He got head cuts. And when he ordered the equipment, yeah, he didn't really order the right equipment either. And then he hired a consultant, at the Uzbekistan mega partnering, who helped him develop some branding. But the branding wasn't so great either. So can I get agreement here? Who thinks this is a terrible idea? Okay. Does anybody think this is a good idea? You're at the wrong event. Okay. This is a terrible idea. And like most terrible ideas, here's what happened to Sasha with this terrible idea. But, what's interesting is that sometimes a terrible idea just needs the right marketing, right? Just needs the right market. So Sasha's driving around in Uzbekistan. He actually drives by this prison, and he sees this room full of people, and they're all waiting around in this waiting room, and he goes up to the prison guard, and he says, my goodness, what are all these people doing here? What are they waiting for? And what the guard tells him is these people are waiting here in the waiting room. They're waiting to be drawn and quartered. Oh my God, that's horrible. But Sasha gets a bright idea, and he decides to set up his little salon right outside of that waiting room. And all of a sudden, what happens? He's got people lined up down the street. Okay, so what's the story here? Well, sometimes a terrible idea can still be the least worst option. Okay, because those people in that waiting room, they were facing a pretty horrible option, right, of being drawn and quartered. And what I want to make a point with you here is that there's absolutely no difference between the least worst option and the best option. They are indistinguishable from each other. And when we negotiate, and JT talked about negotiating yesterday, he talked about a very powerful negotiating tactic is to give people options. Now, sometimes if we're in the real estate business, we're dealing with motivated sellers, maybe facing foreclosure. Sometimes there are no good options, right? There's only a series of bad options. But you have to remember that the least worst option and the best option are exactly the same thing. And that's what Sasha figured out here. And if you think about it, if you had actually 50 million people in that waiting room, well, at $20 a head, this terrible idea would be worth about $1 billion. So the question that I'm going to ask you here is, how much money do you think that you could make by offering the best option to 50 million people with a problem?